Hi everyone, it's Darlene. Welcome back for another card video. Today's card is pretty clean and simple. I'm using the Remarkable You set by Stampin' Up. It comes in two different cases. I'm using this flower right here, and I also used this one on a different card a few weeks ago. And I'm using the Tailored Expressions frame set. I love this frame set. I've used it multiple times. It's got 4 different frames and it cuts the inside and the outside, so you have a nice pretty kind of outline for your card. I'm going to start off using some Marina Mist cardstock by Stampin' Up! And my outside frame from Tailored Expressions. And I'm going to be using the frame created by the die as well as the inside portion of the Marina Mist. So I'm going to fit these two together. And this frame has an embossed, a dry embossed area on the outside, so it's really pretty. I'm going to stamp my flower onto the Marina Mist cardstock with some Versamark ink. It's just a clear sticky ink that I'm going to be using for embossing. And then I'm going to sprinkle that with some white embossing powder, and then I'll heat it to set it. And I've already created a mask. I just stamped it on a Post-it in some black ink and cut it out with a scissor. So I'm going to place it right over there, and this will allow me to stamp a flower behind that flower. And again, going through with the Versamark ink, and then I'm going to angle it a little bit differently and set it behind this flower. I'll sprinkle it with the white embossing powder, and I will heat it to set it. And I'm just working on the left corner here so that I have space on the right hand side for my sentiment. So what I'm going to do with these flowers is I'm going to darken the inside. I'm going to show you 2 techniques. The first uses a Versamarker, which is just a Versamark ink pad in pen form. And this is just going to give you a tone-on-tone look, so it's really just going to darken up the cardstock where you apply the marker. So I'm going to apply it in the shadow areas of each one of these petals. With this particular technique, with the Versamarker, it's going to fade over time. So after a few minutes, you'll see that the dark areas aren't as dark as they were before. So you'll have to do multiple layers if you want a really deep shadow effect. But if you just want kind of a basic highlighting or low lighting, I guess you could say, of the shadow areas, the Versamarker is a really nice way to go. I'm not going to finish this flower because I'm going to actually use a different technique to complete it, but I just wanted to show you that you could also do it with a Versamarker. The next technique involves a blender pen. I'm using a Dove blender pen. It's the first time I'm using this pen. I typically use a Stampin' Up! Blender pen. I'm using the same color ink as my cardstock, Marina Mist, and with the Stampin' Up! Ink pads you can squeeze the pad and it will put some ink on the lid so you can pick it up with a blender pen or an aqua painter. The blender pens are filled with a chemical, I can't remember the name, but it pulls up similar to an aqua painter, so you'll get color on the tip, and then as you color on your cardstock you'll get the ink coming off, but then as you continue to color it'll fade away to nothing. So similar to an aqua painter, but it's not water, so you're not going to get as much of the pilling of and shredding of the paper as you would if you applied a bunch of water and were coloring it quite a bit. So the difference between the Versamarker and this blender pen is that we have color now, and so you're going to get a little bit more of a brighter tone with the inside shadow areas rather than just a kind of a blank tone. And so that's why I left the Versamarker image on the left so that you can compare the color. Now it will fade a little bit, so the blue that's applied here will fade a little bit, and you'll have to add a couple more layers because I really wanted it to be pretty dark in the center. I'm just going to keep coloring this flower one petal at a time. I find that the medium colored cardstocks work the best because you have the nice contrast with the white outline, yet you still get the ability to have a darker shadow area. So once I'm finished with this, I'm going to hold it up so you could see how darker it is with the color once you add that color in there than with the Versamarker. So for the next flower, I'm just going to get some more ink on my lid here with my Stampin' Up! Ink pad. And I'm switching to a Stampin' Up! Blender pen. The Dove blender pen seemed like it had a lot of liquid in it. I found that you can see on my lid here that there's a lot of liquid left behind from that Dove blender pen. It could be that my Stampin' Up! Blender pen is kind of old and I'm sort of used to working with a drier pen, but I just felt more comfortable using the Stampin' Up! Blender pen, so I switched to that one. So I'm going to keep doing this, and I'm going to turn up the music for another few seconds and I'll be back. When you're all done, you can just take your pen and just color on a piece of scratch paper and the ink will come off and the pen will be ready for your next project. To highlight the flowers, I wanted to add a little bit of an outline to this centerpiece. So I took my white gel pen and a ruler and I'm just drawing a line. You can see how slow I'm moving. The reason why I'm going so slow is because if you go too fast, you're not going to get enough ink coming out of your pen. So if you're experiencing kind of that double line look where it's empty in the middle and you get two white lines on either side, it could be that your pen doesn't have enough ink in it, or like you need to get a new one, or it could be that you're moving too quickly. So if you move nice and slowly, you should get a really pretty line with this gel pen. This is the Uniball broad tip gel pen. My sentiment is from this Altenew Bejeweled set. I find myself using these sentiments all the time. They're just the perfect size. I'm going to stamp it with Versamark ink in my lower right hand corner, and then I'll sprinkle it with some white embossing powder. So I'm bringing in a little bit more white here, and then I'll heat it to set it. Now it's time to put my frame on. So I'm going to flip my frame over as well as my flower panel, and I'll grab some surgical tape. I really like to put pieces together that are going to be close to each other on a card with surgical tape before I put them on a card, especially if they're both going to be raised up. Then I don't have any gaps in between. So I'm going to make sure the frame and the centerpiece are very close together, and then I'll put my tape down. And the nice thing about this tape is that it's very thin, so it's easy to work with. If you put it down wrong, it's really easy to pull back up, and you can also cut it or tear it with your fingers. It's just really nice, flexible, multi-use tape. So I'm going to tape all four sides to make sure I don't have any gaps, and then I can put it on my card base. I'm going to put it on the base with some Scotch foam tape. I'll just take 3 pieces, put them straight across, and then I'm just going to put it centered on my card base, which is 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch Neenah Solar White. And that's the card for today. So again, pretty clean and simple. I like the tone-on-tone look, and just something easy that you could put together if you need a card in a hurry. Anyway, so that's the card, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.